I thought this picture was very appropriate for the topic of today, is finding stability and change. This little girl is changing. She's growing up. She got on a bicycle, probably graduated from a tricycle, and going to a two-wheel, but actually a four-wheel because she's got training wheels. I never had that luxury growing up. My father put me on my bicycle and shoved me down a hill. And I did great until I reached the bottom. And he never gave me instruction on how to turn, so I ran straight into a curb and thought that my bicycle career was over because I never wanted to get on it again. But I did. Even graduated to a motorcycle, so that was fun too. But I remember seeing, I think I've shared the story before, but a little boy was on his bicycle with training wheels, shot past us as we were walking. Beth and I were out walking, and his training wheels weren't touching the ground. They were about 2 inches off the ground. But I bet if you took them off, he wouldn't have been able to ride the bike. It's sort of like losing your Wi-Fi. You know, it's you come to depend on this stuff. But I'm fine with that. You're not going to be able to read along with me, so that's fine. That might be a lesson for all of us. So we're looking at finding stability and change, and we're talking about bigger things really than losing our Wi-Fi or losing our connections here. We're talking about changes that we go through in life that we're just not sure how to deal with. And as I was working on this idea, an image came into my mind. I didn't include it in today's talk, but I think it's appropriate. And I just saw, how many of you know how to play pool? You played pool and you've seen somebody shoot the ball and break the rack, and all the balls go all kinds of places. Well, that's sort of how we are in our thinking when we are looking at all the events that are going on and we're trying to manipulate and control them. It's like this whole thing of balls is flying around at that level. But if you rise up just a little bit above that, you're not part of that. You're not involved in that action. If you think of every ball as representing some other issue that you're dealing with, some issue you're dealing with, you know, there are many things going on, and we sometimes get very flustered by that. And if you stop and think about what's going on, we're flustered by the thoughts that are bouncing around, by the expectations, the emotions, just whatever stuff is going on in our mind. It's bouncing all around at that one level. So one of the objectives of meditation, or let's just call it relaxation, is we close our eyes, we get above that activity, that emotional, mental bouncing around that's going on, and we immediately begin to experience a deeper level of peace. And that peace has always been there, but if we're down on the table where those balls are all going in every which direction, we're involved in that level of reality. And it is a level of reality. It is, you know, part of our life. But if we understand what that is, it's the mental and emotional billiard balls that are bouncing around. It's not necessarily the only reality we have access to. And that's the key, what we have access to. So we can actually close our eyes and we can just let all that go for a time, and we find, you know, a deeper sense of stability. And when we do, we take a deep breath, you know, we go back into our life and we're able to deal with it in a better way. From Proverbs, we read this, and actually you could follow along in the back of your program because I take about everything from each of the paragraphs there. But from Proverbs, we read this: "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insight. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths." That really hit me when I read it, and I am not real familiar with this particular one. I think I typed in scripture on stability. And this one popped up, and I really like it. But this idea of do not rely on your own insight. It's like, okay, I don't know how to handle all of these bouncing balls. I don't know how to deal with everything that's going on. So that's my insight, would to be to come up with a resolution for the problems I'm holding in my thought. And I don't have a resolution for those. That's why they're bouncing around. So this idea of trust in the Lord with all your heart, it's like, okay, that's not the only reality. What's going on the table is not the only reality. There's a deeper reality. And the peace of God has never left. I have left it many times, but it has never left me. And so just to stop and remember that, to recall that, and to actually tap back into it is a way to find stability. So what a comforting thought. If we feel threatened by change, it's because our own insights seem inadequate. This writer reminds us that there is greater wisdom at work, and we should place our full trust in it. So something's going on we don't understand, and we react to it, and we try to resolve and whatever, and we get very much involved in the drama that's going on the table. And what this is saying is there are other levels, there are more levels to this, and we all know this. This is common teaching in unity, that do not judge by appearances, do not judge by all the bouncing balls that are in your mind. They seem very real, and they are real as long as we hold on to them. But if we're seeking stability, we won't find it on the table. We won't find it at that level. Something has got to shift in us. Something's got to change. And that is, we have to make a decision to get off of that level, off of that plane. The old story about the people that lived in the valley and were flooded every year so often that, their homes were washed away. And a wise man came through and said, why don't you just build your houses up on the hill a little further, above the floodplain? Nobody had ever thought of that. Well, we don't think of it either. When all those balls are bouncing around in our brain, we don't think, if I just would build my consciousness or build my house up on the hill a little higher, to begin to affirm that the peace of God that seems to be absent in this situation is not absent. I'm absent. I have decided to build in the valley. I've decided to build at the lower level. I'm running around on this table with all these balls flying around, and I'm in harm's way. So we forget what is available to us. We think what is available to us is another thought to stop the balls from rolling around. But just forget the balls. That's the bottom line, is forget those thoughts and those feelings, those emotions that are bouncing around in your mind and heart. Not pretend like they're not there, but to say they're there, but there's another way, there's a higher way. And it's accessible to me right now. We start opening ourselves to greater possibilities, and if we trust that is true with all of our heart, we'll actually make a change. We'll actually sit down and let go of what is going on. But if you are in a tizzy about something, if you're all caught up in some issue, if you'll think of it in that way, as it's just balls bouncing around in your mind, that yes, that's a reality, but is it the only reality? Is it the only thing that's available to you right now? And if you say, okay, it's not, there's a deeper reality, there's a peace that passes all understanding. I don't have to get the balls to stop rolling. I just have to get above them. I have to get at another place. Is that place available? Yes, it is. Can I achieve it? Yes, you can. Can I achieve it if I don't try? Probably not. because you'll stay at that level and you'll continue to say, that's my reality. And as long as you say, that's my reality, you can't get above it. But if you say, that's one aspect of reality, but it's not the only aspect, there's another way, then you can begin to find stability. And if you don't believe me, and I know you do because I'm still here after all these years, but you can actually prove it to yourself, and that's the very best thing to do. You don't have to convince me or believe me or anything else. You can take a situation where you're out of control, where you feel out of control, where you feel your life is out of control, and you can actually sit down and visualize it as a bunch of billiard balls bouncing around that you don't have to be part of, that you can actually rise above. And this is not a denial in the sense that I don't have a problem. You do have a problem. The problem is there's a bunch of balls bouncing around in your brain. That's the problem. It's not any one of the balls. It's the fact that so many of them are doing that, and that you're down there saying, this is real. That's the one problem. So the solution to that one problem is not try to stop the balls from bouncing around, but realize that's just one level of your reality, that there's another one, there's a deeper one. And you can actually close your eyes, sit down, and let yourself release this energy. That's what we mean by denial. It's not pretending like it's not there, it's there. But it's the releasing of that, the reaction we're having to that level of reality. As we release that, as we begin to find a peace in ourselves, a peace that passes all understanding, or as Jesus said to the storm, peace be still. As we find that level of peace in ourselves, we take our attention off the bouncing balls, and we see there is another way to experience this moment. That's really what it all comes down to. There are multiple ways to experience this now moment. And what we teach in unity is there's a deeper way than we generally think. Jesus taught that too. Don't judge by appearances. Take your eye off the ball. Take your eye off all those bouncing balls. And put your eye on trust the Lord. That's the trust, the deeper level that's available right here and right now. So what does it mean to trust the Lord with all your heart? This is a call for faith. But is it blind faith or is it understanding faith? Blind faith is the hope that something good will emerge from that fog-shrouded path before us. Understanding faith is the substance of the greater good you desire, the assurance that the best and highest is now unfolding. When we think in terms of the best and highest, we need to stop thinking in terms of outcomes. We need to stop thinking in terms of, okay, all these balls are bouncing around, how do I get them to stop? We think in terms of how can I get to a level where that won't bother me? How do I get to a level where I'm above that? That's the answer we're seeking. We're not seeking to change anything. So that puts the ball in our court all the time. Because, the only thing we're seeking to change is the focus of our attention. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins said, you have only one thing to give, and namely, that's your attention. Somebody else said, whatever gets your attention gets you. If you're down there on the billiard table, on the pool table, your attention is going to obviously be on the balls, on all that racket. But if you make a choice in this now moment, and that choice is always available, you can rise above that. You can move into a deeper level of experience. And that's what you want. It's not changing events, it's changing the inner experience you're having. Remember, I've talked about that. The difference in an event is a thing that's going on. But the experience you have is how you react to that event. You may not be able to stop the event. You may not be able to change the event, but you can change the experience you're having with it. And I do think that's what Jesus meant when he talked about not judging by appearances. What is the judgment? The judgment is the experience. That's bad, so I'm going to feel bad. That's the reaction. That's the judgment. If you don't judge by appearances, you're saying, okay, that appearance is there, but I don't have to react to it in the way that I'm programmed to do. And we're all programmed to react to negative conditions negatively. That tends to be our first knee-jerk reaction. And it's understandable that we do that because it looks real. Those pool balls look pretty real. They sound pretty real. They look pretty dangerous. Then we try to get them all stopped, and there's just no way we can keep up with all of it. And that's the danger, is we lose the peace. The peace that passes all understanding. There's a higher way to experience that pool table. Get off of it. Rise above it. That's what it's saying. That's what it is to trust the Lord. Why do we think we have to be at that level where the destruction is taking place? Somehow we have this obligation. Well, it looks real, so I'm going to respond to it. And I'm going to respond in kind. It's just the way we were trained, the way we have grown up to think. It looks real, so I'll respond to it in kind. So the spiritual teaching says you don't have to do that. There is another way to experience that very thing. It's a reality, but it's not the only reality. Because it's very easy to get into this state of mind of denial. I've got this problem, but I don't really have a problem. I don't really have a problem, so I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, if you have a problem, you want to do something about it, and the first thing you want to do is get off of that level, get out of that level of the problem. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. This means right now. As you contemplate any uncertainty in your life, bring the wisdom of the Lord into your thinking. You are a child of infinite wisdom, the very vessel through which this wisdom is given to the world. At this moment, the wisdom of God is making straight your path. Allow the peace of this truth to calm and empower you. And you'd be looking at a straight arrow on a highway if you could see the pictures going on here. So there's always a way to get through whatever it is we're struggling with. If we understand what the struggle is, first of all, it's all these bouncing ideas that are going through us. And yes, there's some counterpart out there that we're reacting to. But what controls the level of and quality of experience you're having more than anything? Is it what's going on outside, or is it what's going on inside? That's where we start. The only world I really can do anything about is the one that's inside, my thoughts and my feelings. And it's the problem can be happening out there, and you can be having a different reaction to it. You can be not reacting to it. And so what we want to do, though, is put ourselves in a position where we go off by ourselves. Jesus would often go off by himself and pray. I would imagine he had a lot of pool balls bouncing around in his brain, a lot of his life. He had a lot of problems. From day one, somebody was trying to kill him, and they finally did. They finally caught up to him. His friend, maybe cousin, John the Baptist, he was put to death. Jesus takes off in the wilderness. He just had things going on all the time. He was under attack from the scribes, the Pharisees, from the religious authorities. According to the stories, he had maybe as many enemies as friends. So I would imagine he had a lot of pool balls bouncing around in his brain. So he would go off sometime by himself in the wilderness to pray. And that's what this is all about. Go away from everything and let yourself be recentered in that sense of peace and that sense of presence. And then come back into your life, renewed, refreshed. If you look at the gospel stories, he would go off by himself and then he'd come back and he'd have perform some healing or some miracle or whatever. He always came back empowered. And the reason I think that would be is because when you do that, you're above all that clatter of that's going on in your brain. That apparent reality. You get above that, and then you come back into your life and you see it from a higher perspective. It's like you're up on the side of the hill and the flood comes through, you watch it. Growing up in Missouri, that we had a lot of floods where I grew up. There were several rivers, they would flood all the time. There was a couple of towns close to us. One was Grayson, Missouri, and you didn't go through that one. It's way off the beaten path. And then, not Grayson, but, it was Grayson. And then Smithville was another one. There's a big dam there now. They finally fixed the flooding. But every year, you'd read or see on the news, town flooded again. You drive through Main Street and you'd see the mud up on the side of all of the buildings, where the water had come up to. It was just kind of a way of life. So we can do that, or we can figure out how to dam the thing and get above it, have it stop interfering with our life. So that's what the spiritual insight offers us. It offers us a way out of that dilemma, and the way it offers a way out is through understanding. What is that dilemma? What is that problem? The one that has the most control and impact on your experience is your own thought and feeling. Can you do something about that? Will you do something about that? That's the bottom line. Is the spiritual path teaches you that yes, you can rise above it. But will you? Jesus talked again about many are called, but few respond, or something like that. He's talking about all of us. That sometimes we do respond to it in a way that is productive, and other times we don't. But just to always make that distinction, that what's going on inside of us, that's what's affecting our quality of life, or quality of experience. And so we can always do something about that. The stability you seek is the anchor of inner peace. Think of the wheel that spins on the axle that is stable. You want to move to that place that does not spin. From this unchanging center, you see things differently. From your center of power and peace. Here the Lord becomes your guide and your refuge. You're not seeking an escape. You're seeking to bring the full strength of your being into play. As an expression of God, this means you surrender to the full power and guidance of the infinite wisdom that is expressing through you now. So if you want to see the imagery that I've got going on here, watch the YouTube video and you'll see it all. We're not losing anything, we just lost our visuals today. But the inner peace, that's the anchor we're seeking. Is inner peace ever taken away from me? It seems like it is. But if we come to the realization that when it is taken away, that's a choice that we're making. We're choosing to let it be taken. Can we choose to get it back? Yes, we can. And it may not be something that we do just instantly. You may sit down, you may try to become still. All you can think about is those bouncing balls. So you get up, you go about your life, and then you come back and you do it again. And pretty soon you'll make that breakthrough where you're able to rise above the appearance. And you're able to tap into that inner strength that you have. And that is your Lord. That's the voice of the Lord, is that inner place of peace. So finding stability in change is a choice you make every moment. Release all fear, all uncertainty, all doubt, and know your path is being made straight now. So it's a pretty easy formula to visualize, a pretty easy thing to visualize. I think that's why that image came to me. I don't play pool. I grew up next to a kid that had a pool table, and we used to go over there and play. I was never very good at it. So why that image came to me, I don't know, but it makes perfect sense to me. So just think of your thoughts when you're worried about something. Think of it as a pool ball that's bouncing around on the table. Is that where you have to be? Do you have to be at that level? And say, no, I don't. I can rise above it. Okay? Thank you for watching this week's program. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with others. We want to reach as many people as we can, and we appreciate your help. We have many subjects in our video lineup, so feel free to take a look. If there's a topic you don't see and would like me to address, just put it in the comment section. I'd love to know what's on your mind. Thanks again for your interest in Independent Unity, and have a wonderful week.